Hi, my name's Cade Huseby.
I'm Madison Lynn.
My name is Robert Butler III.
I am the producer for Timestamp.
I am the co-writer and co-director of Timestamp.
I'm a filmmaker, podcaster.
I've produced 5 features. 3 of them have been documentaries and 2 of them have been narrative.
Timestamp is about a girl named Jackie who travels back in time in order to stop her parents' unexpected and tragic death.
So she becomes very fixated on the idea that she can use this technology she's built herself to travel back in time and to change her life.
We look at movies like Back to the Future, Looper, Edge of Tomorrow, Primer. We hope to take what works in the science fiction genre, but also make it our own original thing.
We took everything that this genre has to offer and mixed it with our sense of humor, our sense of drama, and a really strong creative team that was able to put the story together.
I think Timestamp is an incredibly important movie for today's generation because we live in an era of like social media, of coming of age stories that are looking back on our past with regret. This is a movie that is telling people to move forward.
The whole story is about her coming to terms with the fact that your past is the past.
It's a really important thing to remember that the answers aren't in the past. They're something that we need to look for in the future.
The best way to live life is to look forward and look to the future.
You're looking at a group of young filmmakers promoting diversity.
It's such a rare thing to be able to create art with so many different people from so many different backgrounds.
Timestamp is a movie about the future, and you should donate to this project to help breed a future generation of filmmakers.
We just need your support.
We are trying to provide people that opportunity in exchange for their support. There's never been a better time than now.
What is up, guys? I am Ace.
This is RB3.
This is Cade.
Hey, and this is the Meaning of podcast. We are back.
We're back.
And we're talking about a director. And as you can tell, we got a special guest. He already introduced himself, Mr. Cade Huseby.
Yeah, man.
I can't give you the applause.
Third episode.
I can't give you the applause. You came in early.
Listen, if you guys haven't listened to the meaning of Judd Apatow, the meaning of the Oscars,
that's
Avengers
easily
Endgame.
Endgame versus Infinity War. Yeah.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, that was wait. So is this my fourth?
It was your fourth, yeah.
Dang, man.
Jesus
So
Christ.
you're officially the most guests.
Wow.
Because we had Christian
That's
on
a
3
big
times.
deal.
That's huge. I feel like
Yeah.
special, really special, you
Hey,
guys.
man, that's lit, man. That's a round of applause.
Absolutely.
What do they call the thing on SNL when whoever has the most thing or whatever? I don't know. Whatever. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Either way, you're fresh out of Comic-Con,
Yeah.
San Diego.
Yeah, it was a good time.
It's good times.
Yeah. A lot of good laughs.
Yeah, man.
Lot of
Every
good.
time. It's good. I went with you a couple times. I went with you once, right? Once or
Twice.
Twice.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
the first time was in 2016, second time 2017.
And then before I went with Cody and Copster.
yeah,
Just
Christian.
them.
Christian, not
Yeah,
Copster.
Christian, yeah.
Yeah,
I call
yeah.
him Christian, but
Yeah.
I always think people don't know who I'm going to talk
No,
about.
we're talking about Christian Rubicop.
Yeah, Christian.
But
I call him Christian,
I spoke
so.
to a lot with Christian Harloff a lot too.
No, there you go.
I Comic-Con,
there you
so it was a
go.
good time too.
Awesome, man. Good deal. Well, either way, one of the reasons we have Cade on here is
Yeah.
because we're going to talk about Jon Favreau. But another reason we have Cade on here is because you guys are co-directing a short film called Timestamp.
Wow,
I
Yeah.
genuinely...
that's so true.
I'm I'm genuinely excited for you guys, and I want to hear a little bit about it. Tell the good people, what is Timestamp, and what is this Indiegogo campaign that you guys are establishing right now?
You got it.
You got it?
You got it.
You got it?
You got
Okay,
Yeah, you got it.
All right, guys. So Timestamp is a sci-fi adventure short film that me and the one you know over here, Robert Butler III, are co-writing, co-directing. We've been writing it since about January,
Yeah.
and it's been taking on a few different forms, but we're ready to start getting it cooking. We got all the ingredients, we mix them in the pot, and we're trying to get cooking. So
Yeah.
what we need is your money.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I know that you guys work for your money,
Yeah.
but the thing is that we need it.
Right.
So
Listen, Meaning Up fans, God damn it. Listen up. This is the last week we can promote this shit, God damn it. All right. So we gotta go out there, we gotta raise this money. All right. If every single person who listened to this podcast donated $1, we're there. We're there. So
Yeah, and you could even donate up to like $1,500.
yeah, if you want a cameo in the film, we have tell them about the perks. Well, first of all, we gotta tell them about the story.
You go ahead with that.
The story is about a young girl named Jackie Dixon. She witnesses her parents. She doesn't witness her parents dying, but she wants to go back in time to correct her parents from dying. And it's a film about exploring the idea in the genre of time travel in and of itself, while reflecting on what it really means to look back at the past, what it means to be from the future and be in our timeline. She's from the future, but in her world, she's in the present, but it's the present looking back to the past, you know? And a lot of times time travel movies deal with like nostalgia trips, deal with like, you know, going back, oh, let's go to the 80s and like watch Jaws again, you know? But this movie is about family, it's about heart, it's a very heartwarming story, it's original, which I think is something we got to emphasize here, originality. This is a film that isn't based on no kind of comic book, anything like that. This is original storytelling told by the elites of the USC School of Cinematic Arts program. We have assembled the Avengers of USC School of Cinematic Arts to make this film.
Yeah.
And we got to use this money. So, again, if everybody listens to this podcast, I know some of y'all are in the Philippines. We actually have a good
I love the
listener
Philippines.
in the Philippines.
That's amazing.
Our biggest market is Dallas, Texas. So I don't know what that means.
Dallas and Philippines. Awesome.
Yeah, but Dallas, hey, yo, Dallas, y'all got money out there, man. I know you ain't paying no property taxes.
Oil money.
Go ahead and throw us $1, man. That's all we need, just $1.
So it's
maybe
a coming
$5.
it's a coming of age time travel story, which already sounds amazing.
Yeah.
You already have a cast too. I saw. On
We're very
Instagram.
And see, that's the
Looks
thing.
great.
That's the thing too, Ace. You know, a lot of people in this town preach about diversity.
Yeah.
Nobody acts on it. All right?
No, I'm with you.
We have me, obviously me and Kate. You know,
I'm
Kate,
super diverse.
Yeah,
man.
Kate. No,
It's co-directing for a reason.
yeah, I mean we're doing, you know, but Mel is an amazing producer. We have a lot of great behind the camera cast.
Yeah.
Our main family who's starring in it is like all black, and then we got Ken Knapsack who's going to be joining the cast as well.
Ooh, you guys love Ken Knapsack.
I'm going to drop that bomb right here. We're gonna drop that bomb right here. Boom! That's an announcement. That's what just happened. I'm adding an explosion in post.
So some of the perks. What are some of the perks?
So my favorite perk is at $15. In addition to getting a thank you in the credits of the actual film, like your name will be there forever. You will actually get a letter from your future self. So that's kind of one of the fun perks we have going on for $15.
Right.
And then as we go up the totem pole, like you get some more cool perks, like. At $1,500, you can. No, I'm just kidding. There's like 15, 25. 25, you get the blooper reel. At 50, you get the final movie as soon as it comes out. You get that. All the way up to $100, and then at $250, you actually become a producer of the actual movie, which is really cool because you will be on IMDb as a producer. Right. And then for $500, executive producer.
Right. And if you want to part in the movie, that's $1,500. We'll take care of that. But I know niggas is broke, so listen, $5 for the $5 perk. What can you get, Kate? A social media shout out.
You get your name on our official Instagram page.
You get your name on our official Instagram page.
Think about all the traffic from everyone.
And you tweet at me. You show me you pay $5. I'm giving you retweets. I'm giving you love. We all in business here.
Yeah, just $5 can make that big of a difference.
If everybody.
But Robert, why don't you tell them why we need their money?
Listen, we need this money because we are in the midst of creating something great. Like I said, great cast, great story, great filmmakers. But more importantly, we're not looking to do this cheap. You know what I mean? We're going to do this right with the right cameras, the right production design.
And that costs money.
Yeah. And we're asking for $7,000. That's not a lot in Hollywood standards. It's not a lot at all. Like
it's really not.
That's low budget.
That's how much. Yeah, that's not a lot.
Considering the scale of this film, but we're using our brains. We're thinking economically, and we're gonna and conservatively, and we're gonna make this right.
Yeah, and this is all going to the production design, the producing aspect, the cameras. All this costs money, so they're actually contributing to making the movie.
You're making history.
You're actually making the movie.
Yeah.
Do you realize that?
Yeah. You're making history, fella. You want to make history? You want to be here when, future Oscar winners Cade Huseby and RB3.
Damn.
Maybe I'm just talking shit now. I don't know if that's really true. But you want to be the one who said, I donated to their Indiegogo campaign. I was the first. I caught on early. You know when you find a musical act early and then you got to tell everybody about it and nobody believes you until they blow up and become the biggest star ever, and now you're just mad because you found them first? That could be you. Be mad that you found us first.
That
people.
happened to me with Queen, actually.
You found Queen before?
Yeah. Wait, so I just have a question, because our movie is a time travel movie, and just to kind of get some thoughts going about like why you guys might want to be interested in this. Like, Ace, if you could time travel, where would you go and why?
Oh man, that's a deep question. I don't know if I would time travel. I would go to the future. If I'm being honest, I would want to see what happens 50 to 100 years from now.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think I would want to go to the past.
Yeah, the past wasn't too kind to black people, unfortunately.
I was gonna say.
but I'd definitely go to the future. Like, see what's going on, see what's popping.
Yeah.
See where the country's at.
Or I would time travel to like my childhood and rewatch Star Wars.
Hey,
it's like the most like basic thing ever.
Or stop your parents from dying.
There it is.
If that was the case, yes.
Yeah, you got beautiful parents, though, Ace.
Yeah. Thank you.
Also, I brought the one of our first official props with us here.
Oh yeah.
This is our time travel machine.
Yeah, do a demonstration. There it is. Boom, like that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And you
Creativity.
got just shout out. Do you have a production designer yet?
We're still working on that. Like, we're still.
I was gonna say because that's a big deal because that's something that could help you guys a lot. So
yeah, I'm undertaking a lot of that right now because I like doing it.
Sure.
And RB3's been working on a lot of the other. You know, we've been mixing and matching some parts. And it's gonna turn out, I think, really one of our best things we've ever made.
It's gonna be fire.
How can the good people donate?
All right, so people, first of all, the links has been in the top of the description of every video for the past 3 or 4 videos. So you can definitely find the link. It's top of the description here. And this, if you're listening on iTunes, of course, and Spotify, please click the link in the description. YouTube as well. You can also find is my pinned tweet on my Twitter account at Director RB3. Cade it's on your Instagram too.
Yeah, just go to Indiegogo.com and type in timestamp, and then you could also follow me on Instagram at Cade Huseby. We got the timestamp Instagram for all the updates behind the scenes.
Right. Timestamp movie. Follow at timestamp movie on Instagram, and we'll get you straightened out. So.
Awesome, man. So if you want to be a part of making this movie, go ahead and donate for that because I'm excited for you guys. I really am. I think it's going to be great. And do you guys have like a production schedule laid out and all that, or not yet?
We're still working on that. Still working on that. We gotta keep that on the wraps for the top tier people.
No worries. Alrighty. Let's do it. Let's get into Jon Favreau. I almost called him Jan Favreau.
That's his wife?
The reason why we're talking about Jon Favreau, RB3, is because The Lion King came out over the weekend.
Yay.
And it made a ton of money. So, The Lion King... There was the projection around this movie was so up and down. There were moments where this movie was going to make 130, 140, 150, 200. Like it was going all over the place, but it landed at 185, which is the biggest live action Disney remake, bigger than the Beauty and the Beast, because Beauty and the Beast was huge with 170.
All right.
But this movie, we got the chance to see it early at a Twitter Lion King event. Disney.
That looked nice. Was that nice? Tell me about it.
It was actually kind of nice. I was the whole time I was with RB3, I was like, bro, this is like the nicest thing I've ever been to.
Yeah,
I've never been to the Chinese theater. I was at the Chinese. I've never been to that. I've never been given food by someone on a platter. I was like, oh my God, what is this life, man? I can't handle it. Right. It's the most Hollywood thing I've ever done. But either way, you Instagrammed about
what I Instagram about?
You out,
what
bro.
I Instagram about?
About how like this idea that Disney has this. Yeah, that's what a lion
This
sounds
is the
like.
call out sound effect. Just keep going.
What Disney represents as far as making all these movies and making people who watch these movies maybe like them a little bit more. I don't know if I'm getting close or if I'm getting warm.
Well, listen, this is what I'll say before we start. Yes. Let me start off here and say,
all right.
If you read the book Cloud Atlas, in that book, the scenes that take place in the future.
No one's gonna read that book.
The scenes that take place in the future, movies are not referred to as movies; they're referred to as Disney's. So,
Oh,
Cloud Atlas might be onto something here.
I
because-
kind of agree.
Yeah, so I think, and that book was written, in like 09 or some shit like that?
Yeah.
So, all that to be said, I don't actually know if it was written in 09. I think the movie came out in 09. But, all that to be said, I mean, listen, man, you got to come over and join us on the Disney Corporation, Ace. Join us,
What?
Ace. I'm signed up,
Wait, you
man.
work
I left
for
my
Disney?
I left my I left my backpack in the car.
What happened?
I was gonna put on my Zootopia badge.
What happened?
I'm an official Disney. Let's keep collaborating together, man. I got all the good reviews for you. I got all of it.
Robert.
I'm a slave. I've sold out to the man.
You know what's funny?
It's here.
I was thinking about it today, and I really have like a heart to heart with myself, and I was really thinking about it. I was like, what is the future of movies? Because this is what I'm obsessed with, and this is literally what we talk about like every week, just off camera.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I'm with you, man. I'm joining Team Disney.
Join Team
Disney
Disney,
all the
man.
way.
It's too
Disney's
good.
gonna be making all the movies, and
man.
I want to be a part of it.
Hey, listen, man. We're here.
I got my Star Wars shirt on.
Uh-oh.
I'm Star Wars all the way. Disney Star Wars.
Man, I'm wearing
Come on
Universal.
now.
This is Universal.
Give me.
Listen. You gotta come
But
over.
either way-
come over to Disney. Come over to Disney.
Okay.
There's meerkat mules. I had a drink called a meerkat mule. That was
Listen,
like strawberry
if
vodka.
I can get one of those, just get me on the Disney team.
They had some steak kebabs, chicken kebabs at the event.
Well,
we
here's what
we
I'm-
saw Seth Rogen there.
Let's talk about it on a serious note. Like, I was thinking about this. If Disney really is the future, and if we're just kind of like getting hit by a tsunami of like, this is going to be Disney and theaters are only going to show Disney movies, pretty much is what's happening now. If that's the case, at least RB3, if I can find a silver lining, because this is hard for me being an indie movie fan, but if I could find a silver lining, at least with the announcements at Comic-Con, with what they're doing with Lion King, they're giving different people opportunities. Chloe Zhao is directing The Eternals. That's such a left field, great option. Someone who's a purely indie director, Asian female director, like that's something that's unheard of. Daniel Cretton is directing the Shang-Chi.
Hey, that guy is actually a good buddy of our. You know Gabe. Gabe is our fraternity member.
No way.
And Dustin is actually one of Gabe's mentors.
No way.
Yeah,
And
there's a connection.
He's
Short Term 12 is one of my favorite movies
That's
of all
what I'm
time.
saying.
By the way.
So he's also a friend of. Remember you when we had Rob on? Remember
yeah.
Rob?
Oh, Rob.
He's
yeah.
a friend of Rob's.
Oh, really?
They went to the same school.
Man. Yeah, we got to introduce each other, man.
So he knows him too, because I
Yeah.
remember he told me, he's like, yeah, I know the guy who directed Short Term 12. Have you seen that? And I was like, oh yeah.
That's an amazing movie.
But
Brie
either
Larson.
way, at least the casting, the direction, the diversity that we're seeing, that I personally feel is one of the most important things that we can do in movies, is to diversify behind the camera, in front of the camera, all this kind of stuff. At least Disney is trying to do that, right? I mean, if I'm trying to find a silver lining.
Well,
Yeah,
let's look at the 3 live action movies that came out this year. Dumbo, directed by Tim Burton.
Okay.
Aladdin, directed by Guy Ritchie. This movie, Lion King, directed by Jon Favreau.
Okay, sure.
There's
But
a
if I
trend.
were to counter,
Wow,
if I were to
Disney.
say Marvel, what
Right.
Marvel is doing, because Marvel is just as much Disney as what you just said, right?
Right.
Marvel is hiring a lot of different cast members, and the Eternals cast has Salma Hayek and has
Right.
Kumail
Yeah, but
Nanjiani.
Marvel Studios, I think, operates a little like independently of
I-
Disney,
sure.
like because like Disney like gives them the infrastructure and
The money. Yeah.
and the resources, but like just from learning about Marvel Studios through USC and through just YouTube videos about like all this shit, it's like
Yeah.
Marvel Studios, like they really are just an insulated operation, and
Sure.
I think that we can see, how they're actually putting thought behind who they're choosing to
Yeah.
spearhead their movies.
Yeah. All right, let's just do it. I want to hear your thoughts, man. What'd you think of this live action Lion King?
What'd you think of this live action Lion King?
I thought it was okay. I really liked. I was pretty impressed with the visual effects. I thought they were the best part of the movie. Yeah, there we go again. It's back. It's Simba. Other than that, I kind of told you afterwards, it felt a little bit like they were just scenes by scene recreating and just kind of
Yeah, that's
getting
how
to
I
the
felt.
point.
Mhm.
And I was like, I feel like they're just like and scene. And now it almost felt like
So
it felt like they were doing the Broadway musical and just doing like, there's the scene, and then it's done. And there's the scene, and it's done.
Well, not just a Broadway musical. They did the original
exact
movie.
yeah.
Line by line. The original movie.
I was telling RB3, it's like Jon Favreau's like, all right, make this in VR. Bye, guys. See you in like a year.
Here's that. What's that script you wrote in '94? Reanimated.
But here's my counter to what the general feedback was about how bad this movie was. I don't think it's bad.
It's not bad.
Because if it's bad, you're calling the OG bad. Because it's the exact same movie.
It's not.
I kind of disagree because I turned to my brother during this movie and I go, if this wasn't The Lion King, I would hate this movie.
Okay. But here's my thing. It is what does quality of film mean? Because if this is a quality movie, it really is. But does quality mean originality? Because if that's the case, then no. But originality was never part of the equation.
Nah,
RB3.
I think originality is one conversation, but
That's what I'm saying.
But no, but
if you're
this
looking
is
at
but,
originality,
no, but this movie's not bad because it's not original. It's bad because they didn't even fucking try. It's bad
really?
because they didn't. It's bad because they did the exact same movie except removed all the expressions of like that animated film could bring, the liveliness that animated film could bring, and tried to do the photorealistic thing, which is cool. Props to them for like doing that experiment. But it's like you're literally taking away the fundamental reason why people like the original Lion King.
Okay.
Or at least why I liked it.
I've never liked Lion King.
You told me that actually. You actually mean that, which is funny.
I like it, but it's literally like at the bottom of my list of my favorite Disney movies. I still like it, but it's not like everyone's like, it's the best. I'm like, nah.
Yeah,
Aladdin's way
that's how I
better.
feel. That's
Mulan's way better.
I like Mulan a lot. I definitely think that this is. I love The Lion King, and I told Kate this in the car. I remember seeing The Lion King in theaters in 2002, the original version, the 3D re-release they did in 2011, and now this version in 2019. I've literally seen The Lion King 3 different times in theaters, and I wasn't even born when the shit came out. Disney's been milking this movie
so you feel,
since 1994.
As a hardcore Lion King fan, if Jon Favreau came in and he's like, I got these crazy ideas. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a freaking crocodile in the movie. Like, if he completely changed it up, as a hardcore Lion King fan, would you have been like, yo, what happened to my Lion King?
I would have loved
if
they took pieces from Lion King 2 and Lion King 1.5, the things that actually work, because there are things that actually work in those movies, as bad as people want to give those movies, hate on those movies. Lion King 2 and Lion King 1.5 actually do have some really good elements. I don't know why they didn't derive from those. Maybe they could have added a little bit of that, or maybe they could add something different. And I wouldn't be as frustrated with this movie if I didn't go home and listen to that Beyonce album that she put out, The Gift, and realize she literally retold the entire story of The Lion King, but in a completely new way, and in a musical type way, like song by song. And they even use clips from the movie in between songs to kind of tie together the story of it. But it's the exact same story of like having a daughter, having a kid, and then that kid running off to the world, and then having she's telling the story of the Lion King, the story of growth and rebirth and all that stuff. And it was cool, it was dope, and it was different, and it had different songs, and it felt like an original thing. And to me, this movie just felt like, and no. This isn't against Jon Favreau, because I feel like we're starting this podcast off hating on the Jon Favreau movie. I really don't mean that. I love this guy. Like, Swingers, one of my all-time favorite comedies. Iron Man, one of my favorite comic book movies of all time.
But get to your what is.
But this movie is not. What'd
you think, Cade?
It's the most corporate design movie of all time.
Got it.
I was really excited to see this movie because originally, like, when the Jungle Book came out, I was like, oh, Jon
Love the Jungle Book.
Jon Favreau's, got this live action thing on lock, right? But I think when I left the movie, it just kind of made me feel like Disney's sort of tripping over their own shoelaces with, like, these remakes, because it's like you can really try to, like, do every single movie, like, one after the next, and, like, you can really try to, just retell the story to get more money. And that's what it felt like. It felt like a cash grab at the end of it. Because I knew it's like rewatching an episode of Game of Thrones where every plot point. But this time they made it a cartoon instead of, imagine, they made it a cartoon instead of a live action. Like, it's like, I don't know. I just felt, and like, as somebody who didn't really start off loving The Lion King, like, I like some of the music, and I think it's like pretty intense story for children. But I just think that like, I think if I was a kid and I watched this movie, I would love it because it's like super imaginative and like it retells it in like a new, fun, like technology based way. But I was also looking at it the whole time thinking, this movie's going to look like a video game cutscene in 10 years. Like, in 10 years, we're going to look back at this and be like, oh shit, I guess we got to make another one because our VFX like are awful.
Are better. Yeah, they're going to be 10 times better than that. They're going to make a whole VR 3D like version of it. And, you know, all power to, you know, the CGI artists on this movie. I'm glad Disney's keeping them employed. I'm glad, like you said, but I feel like I have to come in here and give the same compliments every single time. Like, same thing what we did with Aladdin. I didn't like the movie, but at least they employed people of color. Yay! And it's like, dog, is that really the only compliment we're going to be able to give to these movies?
I will push back and say yes. If there's so many shitty movies out there, bro, that they're, I don't know, man, it can't sell. There's got to be a white dude in it. I've been in those rooms. That honestly, yes. If there's going to be an average movie, at least they're employed.
But is this average?
I will say
it's
though,
an average movie.
Let me add one more point. Like the casting, like the cast was the most enjoyable part. If I closed my eyes and I thought it was a podcast, I think I would have loved this movie because I love every casting decision except for Simba. So
there you go. I kind of feel like Donald Glover was like whatever. So I'm kind of with you on that.
Come on, tell me what you said in the car about Beyonce.
Oh, I said, Beyonce, you know, it feels like maybe she sort of just did all these voiceovers on her phone.
Oh,
you know?
I said the exact same thing to my friend. I think I told you. Right? Beyonce recorded this in her room.
Yeah.
She was like with Ivy just playing with her, and she was like, don't do it.
Exactly.
That's what it was. But here's my thing. This is what I think it is. Because what is the disconnect between all these other live action movies that have gotten positive reviews, besides a little bit of the scenes change? Because you don't like any of them, but there's other people who like.
I like the Jungle Book, and I like Peace Dragon.
There you go.
And
but
Alice in Wonderland.
I like personally. This is me, and it's still like everything you said, a cash grab, a remake. All the other ones are too, but I like them, and a lot more other people like them too.
Yeah, I like
Beauty and the
Jungle Book.
Beast, Cinderella, Aladdin. I liked all those movies. What's the difference? I personally feel it's what you said. It's that the animated movie was animated, and the live action thing you don't connect to these characters because you just see the little mouth. And I almost felt like it was a dub when the movie first started. It felt like, have you seen those YouTube dubs when they go like Animal Planet and they're just like, Steve, get over here, and it's just like they're not really talking.
It basically might as well be that.
I felt like that. It felt like I was watching like someone on YouTube dubbed over Animal Planet, and it's funny and it's cool, but I was like, it doesn't feel real. Versus I can look at Naomi Scott and be like, I'm rooting for Princess Jasmine. Or I can look at Belle and be like, you go, Belle. Because it's an actress.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it. Like the Jungle Book had a live action Mowgli, you know, and like
that's what you connected to.
The interaction between the human and the CGI is like, I think what really sort of makes you like.
I think that's
like it.
That's personal. I personally feel like that's the defining factor where people need a person to connect to.
I don't
think they need a person. They just need an animated like.
Well, I don't even think I think you could do a realistic live action looking animated film with no human characters. Look at the movie. Have you seen Rango with Johnny Depp?
No.
That
I have. Yeah.
You have the animals in that movie look super realistic,
not
because they're literally trying to make a real.
Sure.
Like I said, like I think the Disney nature, they probably did this whole Disney nature shit just to secretly get footage for this movie, probably. But I think that but. You look at Rango is a movie that is completely animated with all like animal characters. The main character is a lizard, but his eyes move, his mouth moves. He plays a guitar, like he wears a shirt.
He's animated.
Yeah, he's animated.
That's
like
what I'm saying.
At the very least, they could have had some tail wags or.
That's why this is different because it's animated, but it's supposed to not be animated. They're trying to make it look so real that you just see a lion just walking around and you're like, okay, cool. I love the dub over it. I think Chiwetel sounds great.
Yeah, Chiwetel was great.
He sounds great, but that's kind of it. That's kind of it. I don't. I think
Seth Rogen was good.
Who was your guys' favorite voice actor?
Chiwetel by far. I thought
Chiwetel?
Chiwetel was like, oh, this, because he's legit like being cinematic with his voice, and I was like, that's kind of what you have to do on a voice performance.
Yeah,
Right.
He was really good.
So did they actually have James Earl Jones like go back and record lines, or did they use his original recordings?
No,
they
he
did
went
new
back.
ones.
I feel like they could have just used the original recordings,
Maybe.
and it would have just been the same.
Well, here's my thing to kind of end this conversation and transition into Jon Favreau as a whole. I legit, after the the screening, because we didn't go to the premiere.
It was down near the premiere, like
kind of, but my mom was confused. She thought I went to the premiere. I'm like, Mom, you really think they would invite me to the damn premiere? No.
Hey man, you get into that premiere, bro.
Definitely not. But it was, I talked to her and I said, you know what? The biggest thing I took away from it, Cade, and the biggest thing I took away from it, RB3, and I don't know if you agree with me, was Jon Favreau in person. That guy is the biggest sweetheart I think I've ever...
Beautiful human being.
Oh my God, RB3, beautiful human being. Like he just stood out like a sore thumb when you went to the bathroom and homie went up and sang with the choir, and I peeked over and you could see Jon Favreau in the corner, not trying to get attention, not doing it for the pictures, not even noticing that people, like, he was there, and I still saw him and he was out there grinning ear to ear, recording it, just being a genuine fan of that African choir. And I was like, that's
Jon Favreau's a great guy.
Dude. And then I started watching the Chef Show on Netflix with Jon Favreau. Great. And you could tell he's the kind of guy who has a genuinely good heart, who just wants to bring people out of their shell and into the spotlight. Like he's the kind of guy who like discovers talent and like finds people, and he's like, I want to work with this guy. I want to come in. Let's have fun. Let's do this.
You should see his. I don't know. We've talked about this before.
I fell in love with the guy, dude. I was like, this guy's amazing.
He had a great. He had a great roundtable with him and Damon Chazelle and Donald Glover and Issa Rae.
Yeah,
where they're all talking about young Hollywood, and even though he's not like the youngest, he was moderating the panel. Yeah, and that was a great panel. And I think more than anything, Jon Favreau is the nicest guy probably working in business.
He really is.
He has a real.
Get that Disney money, man.
Yeah, listen, I'm all for people getting paid, and I'm not faulting The Lion King as like his fault.
Here's my thing to kind of the reason why I bring this up, because everyone's like, cool, whatever, he's a good guy. Most directors aren't. If I'm being real honest. We were just talking off camera about Tarantino. Most directors aren't real nice. So it's refreshing in this Hollywood world that we live in that there's genuinely good directors.
I think it has to do with, I think it also has to do with that he's an actor director too.
That's true.
Right. So like
and
he
writer.
sees So like he sees all sides of it, like he I mean, I think this is the only movie he's made that sort of fell flat for me. All of his other movies are like some of the best ones.
They always have something.
They're always so fun to watch,
Right. And I think as nice of a guy Jon Favreau is, we will be behest to not mention the cultural appropriation of the original Lion King film. We're talking about both the original animated Kimba the White Lion.
Oh, that's right. That was trendy on Twitter.
That's very that's always been the thing that's kind of.
But that goes back to the OG.
That's the OG, and then also
that's why
people
the
OG
tweeting about it. I don't know if you saw it. We were like going after like the people like Jon Favreau. And I'm like, bro, that's the OG. Like go after them. Don't go after Jon Favreau. They have nothing to do with that.
Also, a problem with the original is that they. You should check out the documentary The Lion's Share on Netflix. It's about this African family who had originally came up with which song did they play in that?
In the jungle, the mountain.
That one. It was an African family originally who kind of put together the arrangement for it, and it was, and Disney kind of took it, ran with it, didn't pay the people appropriately, and so. As much as I love the original Lion King, there are ethical problems with it. And as much as I love Disney, I think that they should have to answer for some of these things. They should have to answer for barely paying some of their employees like a minimum wage, $15 an hour or whatever. So I don't fault Jon Favreau as him and of himself because I think he's a great guy and he makes great movies. But I do fault the Disney Corporation for milking this movie dry and milking the people who appropriated who they appropriated from for the original movie dry as well.
I agree with you 100%, and I do feel like there's balance in this world. And if you're making $5 billion and you're paying your employees like $15 an hour, that's not right. That's
barely paying. Bernie Sanders had to force Disney to pay $15 an hour to their employees.
It's ridiculous. But all right, before we go to break, let's quickly talk about Jungle Book, man, a movie that he directed previously, obviously, to The Lion King, and this kind of paved the way for this photorealistic animal approach, and it's also a Disney remake. Yeah, this one you do like.
Yeah, I do enjoy Jungle Book, and I know I think we all at this table enjoy it a lot. Yeah. And I think what gives the Jungle Book more than what the Lion King is.
You know what it is? It's Scarlett Johansson. Because she can play anything.
Get out of here. You're in love with her. You're in love with her, bro. Get out
She played a snake, a tree.
She played a snake, a tree, an Asian lady. She can do whatever.
A transsexual, all of it. She can do it all.
ScarJo can do anything.
Yeah.
I'm just playing. But
I enjoyed the Jungle Book because I think as somebody, like, I casually watched Jungle Book. That's probably one of the second most movies I didn't watch a lot of Disney films, but Lion King, Mulan were heavy a lot, and a lot of the later ones like Tarzan, Hercules. But as a young kid, I watched Jungle Book and Peter Pan a whole lot, and both of those movies had this very like warm-hearted, like, nostalgic kind of feel to it. But they also had elements that would not stand up for today's generation, And I think the Jungle Book really did a good job of like updating that. And I thought it was a really bold approach to take out a lot of the music that was in the original. I think that, while you can say what you want about, if that's a good decision or not, I think it's bold because there are generations of people who grow up on these movies. And when somebody sees the new movie, that kind of when a new generation sees a new version of said movie, that kind of becomes their general frame rate. Yeah. So that's why I also get a little more frustrated at this new Lion King, because I do feel like kids are going to watch this and be like, oh, this is what the Lion, and people are going to watch the original one and be like, oh, this sucks, it's animated. Yeah. And which is like, and when you really think about it, the new one's animated, so like, it's really the same thing. Yeah. But I really like the Jungle Book because it took a different approach and made it new and fresh.
Sure. So. And you connect to Mowgli. You really do. You feel a connection to him. Yeah. What about you, Cade? What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I thought the Jungle Book was like so much better than The Lion King because I think Jon Favreau is really good at just like channeling what the movie needs. Like he did that in Iron Man. Like he's really good at making things visually easy to understand and fun to be a part of. And I think with the Jungle Book, he did that exactly. And like, he wasn't afraid to make the Jungle Book a little bit larger than life. Like he added some magical elements, like some crazy elements, like that were really fun to watch. And because we don't know what goes on in the jungle, like we don't. This is technically like a new world to us, but like we also don't know what happens in the savannah of Africa, So like he could have taken those risks again with the Lion King, but I think as we're saying,
at least we got the Jungle Book though.
Yeah, the Jungle Book was great.
Yeah, all right. And that's the reason why people were excited for the Lion King, because they saw the Jungle Book and knew it was a quality movie.
Totally.
True. All right, guys, we're going to break. After the break, we're going to be talking about the rest of Jon Favreau's career, so make sure to stick around.
And give us your money.
This Timestamp is a movie about the future, and you should donate to this project to help breed a future generation of filmmakers that are hoping to do something great.
It's such a rare thing to be able to create art with so many different people from so many different backgrounds. We're trying to provide people that opportunity in exchange for their support. There's never been a better time than now.
We just need your support. Welcome back to the Meeting Up Podcast. We're back from the break. I know you love that break right there, but we're about to jump right back into Jon Favreau, so take it away.
Welcome back to the Meeting Up Podcast. During the break, we were talking about what movies we should discuss, but let's start with the first, man. Jon Favreau made his first movie, 2001, first feature film, a movie called Made. R-rated movie with Vince Vaughn. Have you seen this movie, RB3 or Cade?
No.
When I think of Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn, that collaboration was golden from the original Swingers.
Yeah.
I think that's really what put him on the map. He wrote them. That was the first movie he wrote, first movie he acted in, if I'm not mistaken, too. Directed by Doug Liman, USC graduate.
Oh, that's right, Doug Liman. Huh?
Yeah. And a lot of Doug Liman movies usually tend to be disasters in terms of production, which I think make them kind of beautiful. He has a new movie that he's directing called Chaos Walking. With Tom Holland and
Daisy Ridley.
Daisy Ridley. And they have Charlie Kaufman as like one of the punch-up writers for it. Like Charlie Kaufman. Anyway.
No, that movie... I mean, they wrote entire articles about how it's like on fire.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Fire.
Dude, I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Edge of Tomorrow was on fire, and then like we saw the final product of that, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I'm trying to see his. He did Jumper. He did Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, all great movies.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He did.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith had a lot of production problems.
Chaos Walk America. What's the one that he was doing now?
He's doing Chaos Walking. He did The American Made with Tom Cruise as well.
Got it.
What do you mean by production problems?
Like literally all of his movies go like 100 days over schedule. Like
it's pretty bad.
Like literally every single one of his movies. Yeah, like
I have to like change it up. It's pretty bad.
But as contrast to Jon Favreau, who has a very good reputation of delivering stuff on time
and on
budget. Yeah. So
let's talk about Swingers, man. This is a movie that he didn't direct, like you said, but he did write it, and he did have a lot of say in this movie. What is it about this movie that you enjoy so much?
Man, it's just the dialogue, man. The it's just so spicy, like it's money, baby, it's money. Like it's like so 90s, like bro fest, like just guys.
That's
talking
what you get
shit.
from Vince Vaughn for sure.
Yeah, it's money, baby, it's money. And then you get the Jon Favreau character who's like this shy, timid guy. He gets drug out to Vegas. And Heather Graham is in this movie as well. And it's just about a dude trying to get back on his feet, like after getting dumped by the girl who he loves like for so long. I think Jon Favreau in this movie, and he wrote the movie, of course. He was writing it to play himself in it. And there are just so many iconic scenes, like the scene where he gets the girl's phone number and he calls her like 1,100, like leaves her like 11 different voicemails.
Yeah,
I think that's amazing. I think Vince Vaughn, just everything that comes out of Vince Vaughn's mouth in that movie is amazing. The scene when they get into a fight outside of the bar and one dude pulls out a gun. He's like, whoa, this isn't Brasco's Chicken and Waffles. It was just, there's so many like iconic moments in that movie.
Yeah.
I think it's just, it's great.
What's your connection to this one, Cade?
Oh, I've never seen this one.
Okay,
oh, really?
That's
okay.
fine.
Yeah.
That's okay, man. It came out in 1996.
Yeah, it's an old school one.
That's like 3 years before I was born.
That was a year before I was born too.
I totally get it. But this is kind of what made him, a go-to name in Hollywood. Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
This is kind of what he was known for.
Yeah.
Right.
Was Swingers.
Put him on the map, and I think that's when you have your first movie that becomes a big hit. It wasn't like a big hit in terms of from a cultural standpoint, but not from I'm talking about a box office standpoint, but from a cultural standpoint, it became a big deal. There's a scene where they're all at the party together, and like there's just so many great movie references. Like there's a scene where they recreate the Reservoir Dogs shot of like them all like talking in a circle on the table together, and them walking down the street, the Reservoir Dogs thing. Very 90s bro-ish kind of stuff. There's that scene in the party where Vince Vaughn's talking to the girl, and then the girl's like annoying him, so then the Jaws music keeps like bumping up and up and up. And fun fact, by the way, the reason how they got the rights to that song to use the Jaws theme song in this movie is because Vince Vaughn had approached Spielberg about it, and Spielberg ended up casting him in Jurassic Park 2.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's the connection there. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, man.
Stuff you don't know. That's what you get from the Meaning Enough podcast.
Yeah, so it's all about the deeper meaning. I mean, listen, is this movie, I think by today's generation,
does it hold up?
It will be considered misogynistic,
yeah.
I think, a little bit.
I think all movies made
in the 90s will probably be considered a little misogynistic.
Yeah.
I think what's cool about like how Jon Favreau came on the scene is like he was like a writer, director, actor, and like I think he's one of those actors that like really stands out to the audience as someone to like connect to, and like someone who's funny and comedic relief, and like a way for the audience to like be a part of the movie.
Yeah,
he kind of. And so when you find out that he's, oh my God, he actually wrote and directed this too, like, I think that leaves like a big impression, you know, and like you can execute.
And I think moreover, this movie in particular, he plays somebody who's like a stand-up comic who comes to LA to try and be on TV. And that's a story that a lot of people like relate to.
Sure.
So I think that's something that, it's like the actor playing the actor type of, you know.
And I think that's kind of what made him, you know, even more well-known is his comedy, because the follow-up to Made was 2003's Elf.
Elf, classic.
And Elf is all comedy.
Yeah.
Like
Will
the
Ferrell.
entire movie is based on comedy, and a lot of it is Will Ferrell, but a lot of it is Jon Favreau. What is your guys' connection to Elf? Because everyone has a connection to Elf.
Elf is like definitely one of the first like comedies that I watched that I really, really loved. Especially, you know, it's like refreshing when you're in the holiday season, and and like there's all these like old, you know, wholesome movies, you know, and it's just like Elf is a very realistic portrayal of this, you know, the situation of the plot. And I think Jon Favreau and Will Ferrell work really well together because they both kind of have like the impulsive sort of creativity. I think that is like you can see in their movies that they're not afraid to just like sort of see where the scene takes itself rather than like making sure, you know, it's like it's sealed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very self-aware of what they're, you know, kind of poking fun at. You know what it reminds me of a little bit? Just the self-awareness of like someone like a Taika Waititi, where he's just so self-aware. Where like in Thor Ragnarok, when Korg introduces, he's like, "I'm a pile of rocks just waving at you," like stuff like that. Like he wouldn't say that, but he's self-aware that it's like a pile of rocks. So I'm going to mention that. And Elf, you get tons of that stuff with elves and with like animated characters that come up, and it's funny because of that reason. But what's your connection to Elf?
This one I didn't watch as a kid like most people did. At least most people.
My generation did.
I watched this one a little later on. And yeah, it's one of those like later in life Christmas movies that like really kind of sneaks up on you. Because outside of it being like a genuine comedy, it's actually genuinely a good Christmas movie.
It is.
You know, it has a good message about family and the connection that you have to the people around you. Obviously the whole gag is that Will Ferrell is, you know, a tall, kind of weird looking dude who's an elf, which completely subverts what every other kind of interpretation of elves are supposed to be, right? But it works because it plays into, like you said, the self-awareness, and it plays into more so, I think, you mentioned Taika Waititi. I also think a little bit of like Phil Lord and Chris Miller with this movie too, 100. Right?
Because
absolutely.
When he was a baby and then he crawled into Santa's sack.
Yeah.
And then at an orphanage, right?
Right.
So he's like always an outsider.
Right. It plays into that whole idea of you know, you're not exactly. You don't like who you are as, you know, identity-wise, but you have to learn to love yourself before you can love others, you know? And I think that's a very strong positive message to have, especially during the holiday season. So.
And what we get out of it, too, is just on a simple basis, it's just incredible scenes. What are some of your favorite moments or scenes from Elf? I'll start with you, Cade.
Definitely everything in the department store, right? Because like that's such a visceral like experience, especially like everybody can relate to that.
Right.
And then like working at a department store isn't the most like glamorous, you know, like fulfilling job. And
you're telling me.
And like
I worked at the bookstore for like 3 years.
Yeah. And then so like imagine you're working there and like all you really care about is getting off. But then like this guy comes in and he's like, you know, he's like the most passionate about books and you know, or something like that. Definitely all the bookstore scenes. And then also of course when he puts like the syrup in the spaghetti, because like I still do that to this day.
What? That's wild. And then we get speaking of that, that's the straight man is played by by Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah.
So shout out to Zooey Deschanel for playing
girl.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you? What's one of your favorite scenes?
Yeah, no, I concur. The department store stuff is really. I mean,
it's just funny seeing just on a basic funny level. It's funny seeing Will Ferrell be a little kid and just be like Santa. Like it's funny seeing that.
Right. And how he thinks the mall version of Santa is like, the definitive,
like an imposter.
Yeah. So it's just really
You're
funny.
You're not Santa.
Yeah. Will Ferrell's good too, man. I mean,
he's great. He's great in this movie.
This is one of the few movies where he's not paired with like a big ensemble or like a
This is one of the few ones where he's not R-rated too.
Yeah,
he's an R-rated comedian.
You're
pretty much.
Right. Anchorman's R-rated, and all those great comedies are R-rated. But this one, it's a family film, and it's good.
I gotta say, I'm gonna be stereotypical, but my favorite scene is Peter Dinklage, man.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty funny. If you call me Elf one more time, it's just so funny. And he's like, "You're an elf," and he just walks up and just beats the crap out of him.
Jon Favreau just has like some of the most iconic scenes.
Straight up, it's funny. It's so good.
All right, let's move on from Elf, and let's jump on to another movie that's directed towards kids, kind of. Zathura, man.
Ooh.
We had thoughts off camera.
Yeah.
But let's break it. What are your thoughts on this movie?
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's one of the finer Jon Favreau, one of the finer board game movies. We don't get enough board game movies.
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah. It's almost like a sequel to Jumanji if you think about it. Like a
really
different version of Jumanji.
Instead of the jungle with space, and everything. So
I think that's maybe one of the reasons why I connected to it, just because I grew up with Jumanji, the OG with Robin Williams.
Right.
So following that up, and I saw this, I was like, it's like Jumanji. It's literally the same thing.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's kind of how I thought about it too.
Right.
I really, really enjoyed Zathura when it first came out because what a cool creative way to reinvent Jumanji.
Right.
Way better than if, for example, if you were to put them into like a video game.
Right.
But like once again, like all the Jon Favreau things are there. It's the suspense, the heart at the core of it, and like this extreme relatability to like the kids because like I have a older brother that I'm close with, and like we'd play games together all the time. And I just remember seeing that on screen. I was like, "Yo, how sick would that be if that happened to us?"
Right, you actually get transported, and
it's one of those movies where it's like, I wish that like that's a fantasy.
It's wish fulfillment, definitely. And I think we talked about Stranger Things last week, and there's a great video from Wisecrack that talks about why Stranger Things is so successful. And one of the points that they make is that Stranger Things is successful because the kids are playing with toys, and the toys actually factor into the plot. And the toys are actually not just a background thing. The toys are in the
fact
foreground.
that they know about D&D helps them defeat the villain in real life.
Exactly. The fact that they know about Dungeons & Dragons. The fact that the entire first season is based on a Dungeons & Dragons campaign makes it so much more inside baseball. And I think Zathura is a movie that really connects with children, especially kids when we were younger. It connects to us because it's a movie that embraces the fantasy and the wish fulfillment of playing board games and what that could really fulfill in terms of like a narrative kind of storytelling perspective.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, and it's just a fun adventure. It's like an adventure movie.
Yeah, Kristen Stewart.
Yeah. Oh, bro.
My girl.
I mean, you jumped the gun, bro, but I gotta say, one of the reasons why I like this movie so much is because of Kristen Stewart.
She's a little young in this movie, though.
Hey, bro, this movie came out in 2005, bro. How old do you think I was?
Let's just stop there, you guys.
Bro, I was a kid watching this movie.
No, I feel you.
So,
I was a kid when I watched Panic Room, too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Falling in love with Kristen Stewart is all ages.
I was a kid when I fell in love with her from Twilight, bro.
That's
Twilight. Yeah. You a Twilight fan?
Yeah.
No,
I genuinely, not last year, 2 years ago, back when I was on Schmoes, because I'm not on there. I did a whole spiel, a whole like speech about Kristen Stewart. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember
Is that why
yeah.
you're no longer on Schmoes?
Probably. But I talked about how I really genuinely like I like her like as an artist, which is a weird thing to say, but I
she's
like her as an
good.
art. I like the projects she picks.
Right.
They're always so weird and out there and different, and I will always support Kristen Stewart. So
Yeah,
shout
me
out to
too.
Kristen Stewart. Shout out to Josh Hutcherson.
Yeah,
Speaking of,
young Josh
you guys are
Hutcherson.
Twilight fans. I'm a hardcore Hunger Games fan.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
hardcore Hunger Games too. I'm hardcore Hunger Games too.
Yeah,
I write all
so-
the books for that mug too.
So I love it's a little mini Josh Hutcherson, man. Even
Yeah.
more mini.
Yeah. He was really, he was really good.
He's my height, so I can't give him too much shade.
Yeah, he was really good in this movie.
Yeah, he's really good.
I think
Oh,
this
and
was
Dax
like-
Shepard too.
That shit,
Playing the like the lead like cool guy, which
Yeah.
is such a different performance.
a
From him.
babysitter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he plays the astronaut.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Wasn't this like Josh Hutcherson's first like breakout movie?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
He's like 10 in this movie, so probably.
He was in Bridge to Terabithia as well,
Oh,
right?
that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
but this might be-
07. But this was before.
this is
This was
before.
before that. Yeah, this is before that.
2003, bro. How do you think I wasn't? Come on, man.
Dang,
bro.
So Thor came out. I thought it came out 05.
No, 2000. You're right, 2005. Either way.
Okay.
Let's move on to the movie that kind of changed Hollywood forever. RB3.
Iron Man.
Nah.
Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie, directed by Jon Favreau.
My favorite movie
Really?
all time?
Of the MCU?
No, of all
the-
time.
of all time.
Wow.
Yeah.
of all time.
I don't blame you. This
Yeah.
is talk to me about why.
Oh man. Okay. So I like it.
Yeah.
So what do you like about it?
Well, me and Ace talked about it a little bit back when we did our Marvel episode. What was that, episode 7 or 8? That was like 90 episodes ago. And I personally love Iron Man because I think it's a great change of pace to see a movie about a billionaire who is, for one, I feel like it's the perfect hero journey story. It's the perfect story of somebody who doesn't want to take responsibility for themselves and then is forced into the position where they have to and owns up to their responsibility and becomes the hero at the end. Because in the beginning of the movie, he was a jerk. Like, he was a really mean guy, and he was, it's clear what he was playing is like this kind of caricature, but not necessarily caricature, probably actually really realistic portrayal of like the military, the military, industrial people who like sell all these weapons and are super cocky and taking pictures with the army people, even though their lives are at risk, and he's at home sipping whiskey. It's very realistic. Like, but it takes that situation, and it takes that kind of personality, the person who is the narcissistic billionaire, the billionaire playboy philanthropist who invested all of his money and all of his time and technology into the military and funding war, essentially, and killing people and killing lives and not owning any responsibility to it, to where he's actually forced in the position where he has to do that. And, the original Iron Man comics is not like they based it on a lot of the original Iron Man origin stories, but it took its own kind of approach to it and modernized it with adapting the 10 Rings as like a branch of like the Taliban and like Al Qaeda, kind of representing that as like the stand-in for that. So I think it did some really great things to really modernize the film. And this obviously came out during a time where a lot of people were thinking about technology, so it advanced it had a lot. It touched on a lot of technological stuff.
I think like why it really like resonated with me when I first saw it is like I never heard of Iron Man, right? Like, I'm not a comics person.
Right.
Never heard of Robert Downey Jr., right? So here's like this whole new character that's really cool because I'm like a very techie person. Like, I love that sort of exploring, like, and it just seemed like such a realistic movie. And, it's like, okay, here's this incredible actor, like, taking a Marvel character. Like, the first time I saw Iron Man was actually on DVD.
Really?
Like, I didn't even know it, like, had a theater release or anything. I just, like, I randomly stumbled upon it, which is, like, crazy because it quickly became my favorite movie because it's just such a fun journey.
Right.
And you can sort of see how it fits into the real world landscape.
Yeah, very real world.
Very real world.
I think out of the MCU movies, it's the most real world.
But that's
MCU
what
movie.
it is. I think that's the biggest selling point. Like, this was a time where, coming up with Christopher Nolan, 2005, Batman Begins, but 2008 was Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
This was a time where people were saying, what if these superheroes would be in the real world? And this movie felt so realistic, where they're like, man, this could happen. This is crazy. If someone had this, tech billionaire status and used that kind of technology and weaponized it, but used it for good, right?
Right.
And it felt so genuinely realistic that people were just taken aback by it so much. And it did something that The Dark Knight didn't do, which is give us an actor who gave an incredible range of performance, where they're super funny and super ridiculous.
Wait. You're telling me Heath Ledger didn't have a super
in the
range?
sense of comedic.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Whether I love the Dark Knight trilogy probably more than anyone, but it's not funny. It's not a funny trilogy, and it's.
I think the Dark Knight's the funniest though. I think it's funny. You're laughing. You're not laughing.
I don't think you get as much.
You're not laughing with the Joker, but you're laughing at how insane he is.
Sure,
essentially,
sure.
yeah.
But that's a different type of comedy.
Yeah, it's different.
This introduced the MCU formula that everyone always talks about. This is the MCU formula.
Right.
Drama, engaging performance, comedy, quips. This is what it is, and then finale with a third act that's heartbreaking scene, and it brings back to the emotion. That's the essential MCU formula created by Jon Favreau, created by Iron Man, and people went nuts for it. A lot of it, though, I gotta say, is Robert Downey Jr. Man. Robert Downey Jr. is probably the biggest selling point of why this movie is so
what's so interesting?
successful.
I remember that was one of the first movies that really made me want to get into making movies, and I would watch so much behind the scenes, and I remember watching scenes where Jon Favreau would say yeah, well, we didn't even know if this was going to be good. We kept going, and we loved working on it, and it was fun, but we never knew, if this was really going to revive Marvel in the movie world. And then obviously it did. So.
That's such a good point, because I really do feel my roommate and I were having a discussion about what's happening to Hollywood now and how people view superhero movies. And I was talking to my roommate about it, these superhero movies are as good as other movies that people say, oh, Oscar, give it an Oscar.
Yeah. Some of them,
sure.
Yeah.
But I would put Iron Man in there. I would put The Dark Knight
I'll put Iron Man in The Dark Knight,
and The Dark Knight is the same thing. Dark Knight is probably the first time I said, I kind of want to get into movies. The superhero movies have that effect because they can have the same emotional resonance as an Oscar Beatty movie. That's my personal opinion, and I really do feel like
especially
that's real.
Kids, when we were kids watching it.
Sure, but I feel like the emotions and the power that you can get from a film can be done in any genre. And I feel like the Oscars old white people mentality of it has to be this drama. That's it. No genre films. And I'm like, bro, genre films can give you 10 times the more dramatic effect than a drama film can.
Sometimes, yeah.
I think a lot of the times, man. I think most of my favorite movies that I feel that can win Oscars are never nominated because they're genre films, even though they break through the genre.
Right.
So.
No, absolutely. I think there's some movies I think that are stand above the fray in terms of the conventional. I definitely think Guardians 2 is one of those super powerful emotional ones for me. The first Iron Man, of course, Dark Knight. And, we talk about 2008 with The Dark Knight, with Iron Man coming out in May and The Dark Knight coming out in July. It's the flip size of the billionaire
That's
story.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's here's what happens when there's a positive, upbeat look on what a billionaire superhero will look like. And
genius.
Genius superhero will look like. And here's the
negative side.
The negative, what some people will call more realistic portrayal of somebody who are participating in these activities. But
just on off the top, who do you pick? Iron Man or Batman? Movie versions.
Character. Between those two, between Christian Bale and Robert Downey Jr.?
Between Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark.
Movie versions or comic versions?
Movie version.
Movie version Iron Man.
How about you, Cade? Is this easy for you?
Yeah, Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Yeah,
Iron Man.
But if you're talking comic books, it's a different story. Like if you're talking comic books,
Yeah, no one's talking comic books. This is the meaning of first cut.
But if you break down let's just do it because this is the meaning of, like you said. If you break down the political ideology of Iron Man and the political ideology of a Dark Knight,
I was just getting ready to say, like,
let's say it.
I was gonna say Iron Man's kind of the lefty movie, the Dark Knight's the righty movie. You know
it kind of is. Like
Yeah,
Batman Begins
I totally
is kind
see
of
that.
like an angry Republican who's trying to change things up.
Yeah.
And Robert Downey
Privilege,
Jr. is coming to realize, like, oh crap, I have more responsibility and I should help more people with all this money.
Right.
And stop starting wars.
Right. Stop funding
And
the
then
military industrial complex.
the villain is
The villain's the military industrial complex.
Yeah.
And this is especially relevant, especially coming out in post 9/11, post Iraq and Afghanistan war. A lot of what Jeff Bridges' character really represents is people who, like the heads of Boeing, the heads of Raytheon, the heads of these companies that are just bombing, making weapons, they're not necessarily doing the bombings, but they're making the bombs to throw over to overseas and not owning up to any responsibility for it. And in fact, they do such a good job at it, they end up getting more money from the government to keep doing it more and more and more. So it's like, it really, this movie really shows the kind of greed and like not even just Jeff Bridges Jeff Bridges is questionable in this movie. Like everybody, like the media, like
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Literally everybody in this movie is like, what are you doing? Like you're literally making the wrong decision. Where in the eyes of like common sense, like no, he's literally making the most morally and ethically pronounced decision that he's made, like in this character's lifespan, which I think is brilliant. When you look at The Dark Knight is very much like about a vigilante white dude who's gonna beat the fuck up out of anybody.
Can I just say, Jon Favreau was one of my favorite parts of Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
it
was really good.
He came in with the jet over the flowers. I thought that was nice. That character of Happy Hogan wouldn't have started without this first Iron Man movie. So, but what do you think, Ace? Batman, Iron Man?
Oh, I said Iron Man.
Yeah.
Because if you really break it down, like we did in our Dark Knight trilogy, you really start to realize, like, yo, this movie is very realistic, and it's realistic to a point where you're like, oh, this ain't good. If there really was a guy who's like, these kids, I'm selling weed, I'm going to beat the shit out of them. And it's like, well, that's what Batman would do. And it's like, if you start to realize, like, oh, low-key, Batman's problematic.
To some extent, definitely.
To some
100%.
extent. And then you realize what Iron Man represents, and he represents, like, a different version of what this world can accomplish.
Hope.
Yeah, and it's such a, I don't know, man. Like after Endgame, I was like, man, Iron Man's GOAT. Like Iron Man's up there. Just the MCU version, as far as like, this is the kind of idea and the kind of character evolution that we want to see, and that's why I'm kind of low key team give Robert Downey Jr. an Oscar.
For Endgame?
100%.
For Endgame. I'm doing it now. I'm starting it right now. I mean, someone else tweeted this out, and my first reaction was like, what? And then I was like, oh.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's freaking do it, man. Just for giving us all these movies that giving us one of the most iconic movie characters ever.
Right.
Almost like a thank you.
Yeah,
right. Thank you.
If other actors get thank yous for performances in movies that are to say the least.
Well, okay, so there's a
why not
difference.
Robert Downey?
Well, there's a difference though. They sometimes they give out Lifetime Achievement Awards, not necessarily like the real Lifetime Achievement Awards.
Sure.
But sometimes they hand the Oscar to a bad movie because they're like, "Hey, sorry we never gave this to you."
Yeah.
And of course, Robert Downey Jr. has a story.
I'm not saying
career.
win. I'm not saying win. I'm saying nom.
Yeah.
Give me that nom.
I definitely.
Nom is like a nod of like respect. Like give me that respect.
I don't think the Academy would ever do that. Though.
I don't think they will
because
either. But I'm
they're
saying like
on
give me
such
that
a high
nom.
horse, like Robert saying his history career.
But then
like,
again, Black Panther broke barriers.
Yeah,
Black Panther being the first ever movie.
It was different. It was a little different though.
It was, but I still
different,
feel like Black Panther, man. That's the open door. That's the door, like being this wide open, where it's like we have a shot.
Well,
like maybe
without Black Panther, you wouldn't have seen Mahershala Ali take a meeting with Marvel and get Blade.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. That's facts. And I think you wouldn't see Natalie Portman go up there and go back to play Thor either, because she hated that shit for like the longest time. So I think Marvel definitely is like seen as the prestige, not necessarily the prestige in the Academy's eyes, but the prestige of what Hollywood has to offer.
That's what I'm saying
at this moment. But I would like to wait until like the rest of until we see a lot of the rest of the movies this year.
But right now?
But yeah, right now there's not like much. There's not.
Yeah.
I will say Under the Silver Lake though with Andrew Garfield is
That's
really
not
great.
A movie that came out this year.
It didn't come out
Did
this year? I thought it came out this year.
Right?
I think it came out this year.
Oh.
But I think that's
never heard of it.
No,
Andrew's great.
Also, High Life of Robert Pattinson, I heard is really great too.
Oh, but you haven't seen it?
I haven't seen that one yet. No, I really haven't seen it.
You can't say
But
that.
I'm not saying you should be nominated. I'm just saying like there's some good movies.
Sure.
I feel so bad because I feel like every week on this podcast I come on here and tell you about how much shit I hate, which I don't hate everything.
Yeah.
I just don't like garbage. You know what I mean? I don't like CGI nonsense, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know,
But I feel
there's been
like
exceptions to that.
Iron Man and the legacy of 2008's Iron Man and Jon Favreau in general is this character, the character that just defined a generation.
And I think what is great about the first Iron Man too, and in terms of incorporating it to the rest of the MCU, is that when you have to, like, it establishes the character of Iron Man as a narcissistic dude who becomes the hero. But throughout the rest of this story, throughout the rest of these movies, he's still kind of fighting back, at taking the escalating risk. So it's like it really plays into a lot of different factors as to why and how and what the evolution of a character actually is. I think for me, the biggest example is Civil War. Civil War did a great job of establishing how his past and how his experiences inform his beliefs, and how Steve Rogers' past and how his character trajectory informed his beliefs. So
100. That's why Civil War is
it's
top 3.
It's actually madly complex because when we meet Steve Rogers as the good guy who loves the system and embraces the system, but he realizes that the system's been lying to him the entire time and that he has to break free from that. But that system being the government. Iron Man has the same kind of story where he was in a system, trusted that system, realized those people are trying to stab him in the back, and ends up becoming that. But that system is the military-industrial complex. Mm-hmm. So it's like when their ideologies come to head, they're really both arguing for the same thing, just from a different viewpoint because they had different stories. So I think what this movie established, the greatness of Civil War and the greatness of Winter Soldier, I think almost to some extent too, would not have been possible without the greatness of the first Iron Man movie.
100%.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's move on to Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2, yeah, he directed that as well. I forgot about that, yeah.
This is a movie that people are very mixed on, to say the least. Most people rank it at their bottom. Yeah. How about you, RB3? Are you a defender of this movie, or do you think it's okay, or what?
Yeah, I'm a defender. Yeah, I'm definitely a defender of Iron Man 2. We actually watched Iron Man 2 not too recently.
Oh, no way.
Not too. Yeah, pretty
because
recently.
the thing is, like, everyone, like, when Iron Man 2 came out, because I loved Iron Man so much, I was like, of course, why wouldn't I love Iron Man 2? And then it came out and I loved it. And everyone around me was shitting on it.
Yeah.
I guess because they didn't have the same, like, connection to the first one that I did.
Right.
And then Robert was, like, literally the first person I've ever met who also liked Iron Man 2.
Wow. I think it's a good movie, man. I think it's actually a song. Now, I will say, we rewatched it. Iron Man is kind of an asshole in that movie.
Does it hold up? I gotta say, my favorite scene in this movie, I can't lie, like, it's the courtroom scene.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's amazing.
Yeah.
I've successfully privatized world peace, and he just does it. And I'm like, bro, that's the most mic drop moment ever.
Mic drop, but then on a deeper level, it's a little bit problematic.
It is, but it's still so cool.
It's a cool line, though. It's a cool line. It's a cool line, definitely.
It's one of those things where, like you said, like he fights back on where he's still like a corporate billionaire.
He's still
about
making
billionaire. Benjamins.
Yeah,
like he's
100%.
still, I'm making money. I'm still Tony Stark. Hey man, I'm doing my shit, bro. You can't touch me. I'm like, yo. He's still, like you said, he's still kind of an a-hole, and that's kind of why you like him.
Right.
Because you're 100%. Like, he's still fighting back as far as his compassion goes. So I think that's why the movie does work as a whole.
Right.
And it also gives us the great War Machine.
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle.
Yeah, no Terrence Howard.
One of the best. I
best
think
recasting.
100. One of the best characters in the MCU is War Machine.
No, I love War Machine.
I love War Machine.
Yeah, I hate seeing Terrence Howard leave us like that, man. Of course, I don't know whose side to believe. Marvel says it's his fault. I don't know,
but I was gonna say if you've heard stories of Terrence Howard on set, I would say.
You think it's Terrence Howard? Really?
Yeah, man.
What stories have you heard about Terrence Howard?
Oh, you haven't heard?
Spill some tea, man.
About Empire mainly.
Yeah.
About how
I heard he got mad about the Jesse Smollett thing. I heard about that.
No, I'm not talking about that.
But what'd you hear from him?
I just heard that he's very hard to work with.
Oh, really? I mean, I don't doubt it, man. We've been on top since the 90s. That tends to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas Robert Downey Jr. was literally like breaking into people's houses and sleeping in children's beds.
Yeah.
While he was meffed out.
Yeah.
Which, hey, man, sometimes you got to hit rock bottom to get to
happens,
the top.
bro.
No, but that's what it is, though. I mean, and we talk about the arc of Iron Man being a dude who's a jerk and becoming the nicest guy. That's kind of the arc of Robert Downey Jr. in and of himself as a career. Like, he really, really hit rock bottom. Like, he was a hardcore drug addict. He spent a lot of nights in jail. Like I said, he broke into a kid's bedroom and slept in the bed.
He begged Jon Favreau for this audition.
Right.
Jon Favreau wasn't even going to give him this audition, bro.
Right. And then he auditioned, and then Jon Favreau ended up fighting for him.
That's right.
And we saw Iron Man at the USC screening with Kevin Feige was there and everything.
And Jon Favreau
was there. Jon Favreau was
That's
there.
Great.
Yeah.
10-year anniversary.
Yeah. So it's, it
was incredible.
But in terms of Iron Man 2, I think Iron Man 2 is a good movie because it shows you he's still kind of a little bit amongst Arrested Development.
Yeah.
But he got to break out of that.
Sure.
A lot of people hated Iron Man 2 because they felt like it set up too much. It was too much setup.
Okay.
And also a lot of people hated it because
of the villain.
I
think.
Yeah.
The villain was very weak in my opinion. Whiplash.
Yeah. I mean,
I even think Justin Hammer might be a better villain than Whiplash.
Yeah.
What'd you think of Justin Hammer?
I thought he was annoying too.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem. Like, as far as like if you rank the movies, this is probably not one of the worst. But if you rank the villains, it might be one of the worst.
Yeah.
It's so a very bad villain. You're like, oh.
I'm just that kind of person who literally can't get enough Iron Man content. So
right.
If they put out 4, 5, 6, 7, like I'd be there.
Right.
And it's got great scenes still. Like I still think the third act is pretty fun. I still think some of the jokes are pretty funny in this movie.
Introduction of Black Widow.
Oh, that's right.
And Spider-Man.
Young.
You know what this movie has?
The young Spider-Man.
You know what this movie has? It's incredible. One of the best Marvel scenes.
What's that?
Is when he sees the tape of his father. That's from this movie.
Yeah.
And when he makes the new
Atom.
Yeah.
Or not element. It's a new element.
And when he makes the new element and he sees that message from his father that the whole time like his father believed in him and he never knew that his father believed. That's incredible.
Right.
And that's the motivation he uses to create a new element, which levels him to like a different. Like he's super genius now.
Right.
Like that's the kind of growth that I love to see in a character.
Yeah. Yeah, the element thing is cool. The father stuff is cool. It also adapts one of the iconic Iron Man comic book storylines, "Devil in a Bottle," where he's like fighting alcoholism.
That's right.
I think it does a really good job of like subtly like notching at his alcohol usage, which I think is good for. I wish they would have dove into it a little bit harder. I think it would have been dope if we seen like you read the comment panels, there's literally a panel of Iron Man like sitting at his home, like drinking whiskey. Like, I wish you would have seen that.
Yeah.
But no, I like that. I like that they went into talking about alcohol and all that stuff. So.
I didn't think you guys would be so positive. That's great.
Yeah.
Let's move on to a movie that, full disclosure, I haven't seen, and that's Cowboys and Aliens.
Oh yes,
that's decent, man.
I did not see this movie.
Yeah,
this movie gets the worst rep.
Oh yeah,
this is probably the worst rated Jon Favreau movie.
Yeah,
probably even more than Iron Man 2.
Yeah,
why is that RB3? Let's start with that.
It's a silly movie, and the aliens come in really late into the plot. Like it really is like a traditional Western for like maybe not even a traditional Western. It's just kind of like a meandering Western for a long time, and then the aliens come in and make things more exciting. It's pretty cheesy. I like genre blending, so I love the fact that it blended Westerns and sci-fi. I think that's great. A lot of people didn't find that to be the most appropriate pairing. It is. I think it's good, but I can also see like watching that movie thinking it's flat. I can also see watching that movie and thinking that nothing really happens.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, and it doesn't work, but I think it works. And I like Daniel Craig. I like Olivia
Daniel
Wilde. I like Harrison Ford. And yeah, I think this is I think it's pretty good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And same with you, Cade?
Yeah, basically all the same thoughts. It's just cool how like we can see after going through all of Jon Favreau's films, like all of them have really, really good casting, and I think that's something across the board he's really good at.
Right.
Because he himself is an actor, so he understands kind of the ins and outs of it.
Right. Now, if you ask me to describe the plot of Cowboys versus Aliens, like, don't ask me to do that.
I could not.
Yeah, because I don't think that plot's like nearly existent. But I definitely could tell you this. I watched this movie, Cowboys and Aliens. I watched Captain America: The First Avenger, and I watched Crazy Stupid Love all in the same day, and it was on a fateful weekend of late July 2011. And I genuinely enjoyed all three of them. You know, Captain America the least, but I like this one second. Crazy Stupid Love is just amazing. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's finish up. The final one we'll talk about is Chef.
Yeah.
2014 movie. This is a true passion project for Jon Favreau.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all of them are probably passion, but this is the most passion project.
Yeah, it's not big budget.
It's not big budget.
Going back to the roots.
It's very old school shot. It's super low budget. It's him basically calling in favors from friends,
Right.
and it's him, talking about what he likes to talk about and what he likes on his off time, which is food and making food and being a chef and food trucks and that kind of little culture that people don't really know about unless you have that around you. Like if you live in LA, you know all about it.
Oh yeah.
Or
Food
if
trucks
you're
are all
really,
the rage, yeah.
or if you're a foodie, you know all about it too, which I personally am not. So this is kind of like a refreshing take, RB3. It's a different kind of movie, and maybe that's kind of why I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, it's a great cooking movie. You don't see cooking movies that often.
No, you don't.
You really don't. Ratatouille, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is also like a father-son movie,
It
too.
is.
Yeah,
so.
that too. Yeah, absolutely. I think, on a deeper level, it's a great story about father and son. The kid who plays the son, I don't know exactly who that is, but he was really great in this. ScarJo.
Hey,
But
she's playing a tree in this one. She's playing the food truck.
Man, but the food in this movie, man, whew, that grilled cheese he makes stuff.
Oh,
that
yeah.
I'm like Jesus, man.
Oh man,
I could just watch Jon Favreau
have you
cook grilled cheese.
Speaking full disclosure, food trucks. Have you guys had food truck food? And
I love food
what is
trucks. I have a fantasy pretty often about starting a food truck.
Really? Hey, I think you could do it, bro.
Just for myself.
I think you just.
I didn't know, obviously, because I'm from Arizona, so I don't have this. But the food truck culture out here is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I used to work in Culver City, and it was a studio. So there's a lot of other studios around us, and it's, dude, everyone was like, "Yo, the food truck's here!" Right. Like, drop their headphones, run to the food truck. Like, it's crazy, and it's so good.
Yeah.
Like, it's a different level where you don't understand that kind of culture of like do it yourself, right? Like the DIY aspect of like, I'm a professional chef,
Yeah.
but I don't want to buy real estate property to open a restaurant when I can just do it
yourself.
Do it myself.
Right.
And it's a very DIY.
Absolutely.
Authentic. Yeah.
I think, but you're still a pro chef. Like
Yeah.
you're
Right.
still damn good. Like you can probably keep up with all the pros. But you're out of a food truck,
And
so
you
it's
don't
much more
limit.
personal.
You don't limit yourself to being on a corner.
Yeah.
You could be on every corner.
Yeah, and that's why it's so damn expensive.
Right.
At least the ones I've had, I'm like, yo, that much money for, and they're like, yeah.
Have you had that one spot? They got like the best like El Pastor tacos.
Oh no.
Where they shave it off the man. Where is it located? I got
it's everywhere. That's where.
Well, they got them everywhere. There's one food truck.
There's
in particular
one in NoHo, and I know there's one in Culver too that does
Culver.
that.
I think that's the one.
There's one on, I forget where exactly, but I've seen what color is the truck? Do you know?
It's like yellow or pink or something like that.
Okay.
I usually see it at night, so I don't really be noticing the color that much. But yeah, they have the big thing outside with the giant thing. They're just shaving off pieces, putting it directly to the tortilla.
Yeah,
I'm like, damn.
that's you know what
nice.
you know what it is, because I was watching the episode of the food truck episode on his Netflix show, his chef Netflix show that Jon Favreau has. It really is what defines it, and he doesn't say this, but he implies it, that It's that LA has so many different cultures that you're gonna naturally have good food.
Right.
Because there's so many people who come from so many different backgrounds that naturally they're gonna be like, you haven't tried this? Like back in my country, and like this is what we eat and it's so good. So when you try it, like you said, how many Mexicans are in LA? Of course you're gonna have amazing Mexican food. And that's one of them for sure.
Yeah. By the way, like LA, San Diego, you can't touch us when it comes to Mexican food. I know motherfuckers from Chicago, like, man, Chicago got the. How's that even possible?
Get out of here.
How's that even possible?
That's not possible.
Yeah.
That's just not.
I mean, so the only thing that I really have to say about The Chef, the movie, is like, I know this guy who started this app called 1 Second Every Day.
Oh, there it is.
And that was in the movie.
Oh, no way.
And so I asked him, Caesar, I said, is there anything I could say about Jon Favreau? He's like, well, he's just a class act guy. He could have made up an app that had a similar feel as mine, but instead he asked for my permission and invited me on set for a couple days.
Nice.
So it's just kind of crazy. Like, you could tell that kind of adds on to like the idea that this was his passion project. Like, Jon just wanted to like kind of pull from everything he was enjoying at like this point in particular time and like really incorporate it into like the father-son relationship. And
it shows his heart, man. And like I said, that's the biggest thing I took away from that Lion King screening that we went to.
Yeah, he's just
was Jon Favreau, because I've never seen him in person. So I was like, holy shit, this is the nicest man I've ever seen.
Cool guy and embraces young talent, which I think is
what it is.
Super important.
My buddy was a good friend of mine, was a PA on this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like
hey man, so are both of y'all gonna break scoops on me right now? Like, what's going on? Where's my scoops? I want a scoop.
I don't got no scoops, bro.
Oh, you don't got no scoops? No. Cade broke a scoop. Do you want to give that guy some clout or?
What?
The guy who like...
Oh, just, I mean, check out 1 Second Every Day. It's an app.
Okay.
It's incredible. Yeah.
You use that, right?
Yeah, just record 1 second of every day of your life.
That's lit, man.
And then at the end, it's like a little movie of
cool.
your whole life.
Nice. I mean, obviously it's in the movie, so I just forgot about it. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's a good deal. Yeah, this movie has a lot of talks about technology and how that's kind of defining the food culture as well.
Food culture, yeah.
100%.
The Yelps and all that.
Instagram.
Yeah.
All the tablets to sign your name.
Food porn on Instagram, bro. That's like a
that's like a thing. Yeah.
You
that's
get
like
paid
the whole
for that.
thing. Oh yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Just to take the pictures.
Yeah. Instagram's good for models and food, man.
Yeah,
that's what it's good
that's
for.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. That concludes our episode on Jon Favreau. Obviously, once again, we can talk about. Just overall, if there's anyone who is succeeding in Hollywood as much as he is, I'm so glad it's someone like him. Right. That's all I gotta say. Because I mean, obviously, we got the Mandalorian coming up, which I am
Star Wars
so hyped for. As the massive Star Wars fan that I am, and the massive like Pedro Pascal fan, and the massive like
Taika
Mandalorian
Waititi.
fan, and Taika like
who's directing the episodes?
Taika Waititi. Dave Filoni is doing one. Bryce Dallas Howard's doing one. Taika Waititi's doing one. The homie who did Dope is doing one.
Oh, Rick Famagua?
Rick Famagua is doing one.
Yeah.
They're all just different directors, so I think it's going to be special. So
that's nice.
I'm glad that if there's anyone who's waving the flag of like I'm getting paid, because trust me, he's getting paid.
Oh yeah,
I'm glad it's
Disney
Jon
bread.
Favreau.
Yeah, that Disney bread is.
It is.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it's him. So either way, thank you, Cade, for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you to your audience for listening, and make sure you guys give us your money.
Yeah, go support the Timestamp Indiegogo.
Everybody listen to this podcast.
You don't have to be me.
All right, everybody listen to this podcast. Join the $5 tier. If everybody listens to this podcast, gave up $5, we be there, bro. We be there. And if you can't give $5, throw us some retweets, share the project, follow the project. We're gonna put up updates, and really honestly, people, like, if you can't donate, the more social media impressions we get, the higher up in the ranks our campaign goes in the Indiegogo campaign. So even if you can't support monetarily, support by sharing, support by sending it to your friends who do got money. I did that to that camera. Send it to your friends who do got money, and let them handle it for us. So
absolutely, make sure you go check that out.
Love you guys.
Yes.
Either way,
for
the Meaning of Podcast, I am Ace.
This is RB3.
This is Cade Huseby.
And we are peacing out. Peace out, guys.